One Word is a production of BFAC On Air.
Welcome back, everyone, to One Word.
One Word.
One Word.
Once again, lovely. I am Dominic.
I'm Jenna.
I'm Chloe. And I'm Clara.
And today's word is a very surprising one.
It is.
It is villain, everyone. I love it. That goes with your Halloween costume that you talked about.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Leave it as a surprise. They'll be so surprised, like I was surprised.
Yeah.
Well, this is a different one.
Oh.
I know. I got them confused
Not
in my
that
head,
one.
too. He's talking about when I talked about, should I say it?
Yeah.
What I dressed up as.
Yeah.
As
Oh, yeah.
the Wicked Witch of the
Yes.
West one
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
That's right.
Jenna also had a surprise costume in the episode.
I
She
do
does.
have a surprise.
We're
costume.
all dressed up, so if you're watching us, you can see our costumes right now.
Do you know what? I also I
Except
had
for
this on
Jenna's.
earlier. I
Oh,
was
right.
dressed up at
Hufflepuff.
one point as a Hufflepuff.
Oh, that's
That's
great.
nice.
Yeah,
That
because
is
I'm a
great.
Hufflepuff.
So we're all dressed as villains today, and if you're watching, you might be extremely confused with how I am dressed right now. But we guarantee you, do we not? We guarantee you.
Guarantee.
You never know. There might be some people out there who really have a thing about farmers or are like, oh, farmers, those villains.
Yeah,
You know?
Well, I shouldn't because they're the
They
ones
shouldn't.
who get you your food.
Yeah, you really shouldn't. Okay, love the farmers.
Appreciate your farmers, guys.
Appreciate them.
And your local mummy. I'm a mummy. And your local the Joker.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yes. So if you're listening, Clara is dressed as the Joker, and Chloe is dressed not as just a mummy,
The mummy.
the mummy.
The mummy.
That is
I'm like
correct.
broadly the Joker because I couldn't decide which Joker I was because I have purple, like the Heath Ledger Joker, but I have a nose like Joaquin Phoenix Joker.
And Jenna's costume will remain a surprise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to come later.
It's really surprising.
I was very surprised.
Yes. Hey, great episode. Really
Yeah.
Nice job.
great, surprising episode, I think. But still with lots of fun, but with some meaning.
Yeah. I feel like lots of meaning was in there. It's interesting talking about the word villain because you think that it means one thing and then you just learn all this other stuff about it. And thinking about different villains.
Yeah.
One thing we talked about was archetypes and how
Yeah.
they can kind of fall into different categories, which is very cool and interesting to kind of learn.
Yeah. The thing that really hits me is the process and evolution of the word and how it became known to what it is. And the people that were villains originally when the word was created are two different things.
True.
Yeah.
And to start this episode off, we did get to find out which villains we were, which was a little bit surprising to
Yeah.
see who we truly are.
There is a mirror
There is a mirror.
Yeah.
in this room,
Yeah.
and two of us end up being the same villains.
Yeah.
You'll be very surprised. You'll also be very excited to see we have brand new cover art for this season.
We do.
By
yes,
our
we
lovely
do.
artist Ashlyn. Maybe you'll meet her someday. She designed our cover art for season 1, and she's designed a cover art for season 2 with our lovely Clara's face on there. She's winking.
Yes.
It's super cool.
And Clara doesn't actually know how to wink.
She just tried to wink, but
It
like
didn't go
both her
well.
eyes closed.
It's hard. It's hard to do.
It's okay.
No, you did a good job. You did a good job.
That's great. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy
Halloween!
It's the month where we all get to dress up and be things that are different from ourselves.
Do you know that I hate Halloween?
I do too.
I've never had a good. The past like 5 years, all my Halloweens have been
Oh my
miserable.
God.
I do not. I'm not a Halloween fan
Yeah,
myself.
no.
I'm
It
not.
stops being fun when you can't trick or treat. Sorry.
I think part of
love
the thing
Halloween.
that is supposed to be fun about it is you get to embrace this other side of you that you don't get to embrace normally,
Yeah.
which we actually talk about in the episode quite a bit.
it's just like in Mean Girls the musical where Karen sings a song about Halloween is when you can be whoever you want to be, and you don't have to be you.
You can be anything.
It can be anything.
You can tap into those other sides of you that in normal life, because you're preserving yourself, you don't want to be.
That's kind of why I hated Halloween.
Yeah.
Because they're like, go out there.
You're
and
like,
go.
I like who I am. I just want to be
like
that.
how I am.
Yeah.
I want to stay home and be that person by myself. And you're making me go out there and you're making me talk to people and ask for things. And that's awful.
And here's the interesting thing. Everyone always assumed that I just would love Halloween because I was like in theater and stuff.
Yeah.
So you have to love Halloween, right?
I do. I just like dressing up. It's fun.
It's okay. You can like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
I won't vilify you.
Oh, yes. Great.
This is my victory dance.
It's a good victory dance. I
Thanks.
like it.
Thank you.
Keep that one around. Okay. Well, I don't think we should talk to these people anymore.
Okay.
Except for the next long time of this podcast.
Except that's right. I just have one word for you. Villain. For this episode, we all thought it would be fun to kind of do a reverse reveal episode. Reverse. So we normally that was
That's like
that
from the
is
song.
a sound effect that I should have on my pad.
But you should
here.
have the sound effect of me going.
Yeah.
We can definitely make that
perfect.
happen.
That was
Yay.
Okay. You know, we typically reveal the meaning and a bit of the etymology up front and then work our way forward in time. But this time I thought it would be interesting if we start at the end.
We're stretching ourselves. We don't have
are.
to follow the same mold.
So we're calling this, it's October. It's
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween.
And so why not, right?
Can I tell you a random story about the phrase Happy Halloween?
Yeah.
Sure.
This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I'm going to say it.
It does
Go ahead.
now.
So I used to work at Moose Heart, and I had children in my home that I would care for. And there's this one little girl who was not school age yet. So during the day, we would take her to like the store or so. So I'm in Woodman's, we're shopping. And mind you, it's kind of around like Thanksgiving, Christmas time. And all these people, whenever you greet people during that time, you say either like Happy Thanksgiving or Merry Christmas. So we're going through this guy. Everybody's like, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. And Angelina, she's 4. She's looking around and she sees this guy and she like stares him down. And as we get to him, she goes, Happy Halloween. And then he's like, Merry Christmas. And she was so proud. And so now whenever I say Happy Halloween, that's what I think
Happy
of.
Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
That's a great story.
There we go. Jenna out. That's my story for
story.
today.
That's all
you got.
she got. So we all took these surveys online, and remind me again, where did we take the survey? It was
Character.
Character.
Take a tour of the characters.
Tour. Yes.
Yes, that's right. And so we took a survey, and it told us what villain we might be most like.
Yeah.
And why don't we go ahead and reveal to everyone what those are? Who wants to go first with this?
Scary. It's revealing the worst part of yourself.
Yeah.
All right, Clara, go. It's you.
Oh, man.
Dark side.
So
Reg.
there were a lot of characters on there I didn't recognize, but the first one that I recognized was Regina from Mean Girls.
Oh,
and I love
She has a good ending. At the end of the movie, she becomes a good
I
character.
know, but she's the bad guy.
She is
Got
the
a
bad
good
guy.
arc. Well, aren't they all? Aren't
Yeah.
all of ours going to be the bad
get
guy?
hit
You
by
could
a
argue.
bus.
You could argue that Katie Heron was more of the mean girl,
Or
the bad
Jenna.
guy.
argue that.
What?
or Janice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love the Mean Girls movie, and I feel like it was a little offensive to be called like Regina, because Regina's
Yeah.
like the worst ever. And I feel like if anything, it's like I'm also bossy. But they didn't ask me if I was bossy in the survey, so I don't know how they knew
That was not one of the
They could
questions.
just
No, it
tell.
was like,
it?
"Are you funny?" I was like, "Yes."
Oh,
Like, so, but that like I wouldn't. Call
I am
Regina
Clara. Of course, I am funny.
I am very funny. See?
That's amazing.
She is really funny.
All right. Well,
I'm
as we
going to
can
call
tell
you
right now-
Regina from
Don't.
All Day Today. No, Miss George. Is that better?
Chloe, what was yours?
Mine was kind of embarrassing. Like, it wasn't even like oh, wow, that is so a real, like, bad part of me. It was just like, it was Lord Farquaad from Shrek.
Oh my God. I was Lord Farquaad from Shrek. I was Lord Farquaad. That's what I was going to reveal. This is spooky.
I see something in your eyes I've never seen before.
And it resembles you. It's like you're looking into a
mirror.
That's okay. So my question was going to be to Clara, but not all three of you.
Yes.
Do you feel like looking at the embodiment of those characters, if you were going down a villainous arc, do you think you would be that person?
I don't think so.
So,
I don't think so.
Like, would I kick out all fairy tale creatures?
Would you kick them all
He
out?
does commit fairy tale genocide a little bit.
He does.
To create something because in his head, he wants a perfect world. So this is what he feels like he needs to do.
Correct. Yeah. So the only way that I see myself
Also, I'm just saying that you tell people not to bring drinks into the building.
The only way I see myself as Lord Farquaad is the fact that he's a cartoon character.
Okay.
And I've always just felt like a cartoon character at my core.
All right.
Does that count?
It doesn't count. No, it doesn't. Because he doesn't know he's a cartoon character.
No, he
Yeah.
doesn't. Unless he's quite self-aware.
Oh, that's true.
Which he might be.
He does not seem self-aware. Have you watched that
He
movie?
does not see self-aware at all.
That's why I said unless he is. Like,
Unless.
it's a layer in that onion that is like, that's a reference.
Nice.
All right.
job.
All right. Okay. Tell us yours now,
Okay,
Jenna.
so they give you quite a few, right? There's two that really stood out to me where I was like, yeah, yeah, that would be me. One of them was Dawn Bellwether from Zootopia.
Oh, the Jenny Slate sheep.
Yeah.
Wait,
Wow.
you guys, doesn't she have cute little glasses like you?
She does have cute little glasses like you. Wow.
And she can be like quiet
Yeah.
and like, really kind
She
of
gets
like
away with it for so
me.
long because people just think she's nice.
Yes. And I was like, you know what? If
Are
my
you
evil
really
side came
not
out,
nice?
listen, I am nice until that moment where like if you cross one thing, like suddenly there's like a line.
Yes.
And the line might be like up here, like it's going to take a whole lot. But as soon as you do, you would not even recognize Jennifer Carpenter anymore. You'd be like, what the heck just happened? How did she get so mean? And then I immediately feel guilty.
I can see that.
Yeah.
That one I can see.
The
Yeah.
other one that resonated with me was Jerry from Fargo. Played the guy who William H. Macy played. Yes, right? Does this make sense,
I got somebody from Fargo.
Oh, I forgot that I got another one. I got Two-Face from the Dark Knight trilogy,
Oh, okay.
which I
Like
thought
the
I'd bring up
Joker?
because Clara's the Joker.
Yeah.
Clara does. Yep. Clara is.
Claire is dressed as a Joker right now, which
Yep.
is a little disconcerting when you're sitting like across from
Right
her.
You
across-
don't like this,
And you
Jenna?
just see the smile.
She pulled into my driveway today, and I just saw the Joker. She had taken place of Clara.
That big smile. Right there.
I love it.
Okay. I think there's a little bit of a love affair with villains. Would we not say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are villains that we adore, and all these remakes of villains.
Cinderella, Maleficent, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cruella.
That's what I meant.
Yes. Disney
Cinderella,
Plus.
she is a villain.
Yeah.
She is a villain. Ooh, so evil. So, why is it we like villains so much?
I think we like a character who's a little bit misunderstood.
Yeah.
Because it helps, when we see the bad in ourselves, it helps us to remember that, perfect characters aren't as interesting as flawed characters.
Right.
Oh, that's very accurate.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we see ourselves in that person. And you think, okay, that person is really bad. I just have a little bit of
Yeah.
that maybe. But
Yeah.
you do see yourself in it, and you see just the different, like you said, the flaws that are made that make them up. And perfect people. We've talked about this before with the romance episode, but I hate watching things with like perfect pretty people.
Right.
Right, because that's not my story.
Yeah.
So I love seeing those flawed characters.
So, Here is, this is a psychological term, and it's Taylor and Brown, 1988. It's the illusion and well-being, a social psychological perspective is what it is. The term we're going to talk about is self-positivity bias. So then this is quoted to Taylor and Brown. People tend to view themselves in an unrealistically positive light compared to others and objective standards. We see ourselves as having more possibilities and fewer negative traits and abilities. This process here, it leads us to kind of, when we see good qualities in other people, it attracts us to them when we think they're like us. And then it can work the opposite way too. So if in real life, let's say there was a crime committed, and Clara, there is a crime committed, and the news headline says Clara, different last name, committed this crime.
Clara Peterson.
There you go.
What?
You will tend to go away from that and push yourself away from that kind of person because it affects your self-positivity bias. What happens is we want to distance ourselves from bad people in real life and bring us together with the good people. Because at our core, what they believe is people want to be the people that are good in this world. So the negative qualities can be perceived as a self-threat. So even if it has nothing, it's just a name that's similar to yours, or a career. So if you're a physicist and you see a physicist has committed a crime, you will distance yourself from that because that is in some way has to do with you.
Okay.
I get that. I mean, there's people, like actors I'll see when they have my same name. Mm-hmm. I either get really excited or really defensive.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, they're named Chloe. That's just like me. If I like them. But if I don't like them.
Yes.
Who are the Chloes you don't like?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if Dove Cameron's real name is Chloe.
Really?
And I don't dislike her. But
yeah, please don't write us. Okay.
Sorry,
Don't
Dove
write us.
Cameron.
That was Chloe.
It is, her real name is Chloe. She changed it to Dove for the stage. And it's, I mean, she's not much like me. But then there's
Okay.
Chloe Bennett, who I love. I love
Okay.
Chloe Bennett. And I get excited because she's the Chloe that's me. And I want to assimilate to become the same Chloe.
Oh.
That's interesting.
It's like we have the same name. So in my head, we are more similar than I'm sure we really are.
Yeah. There's an actress named Jennifer Carpenter.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you sued her for
I
using
have.
her name?
I'm like, first of all, how dare you?
yeah, right.
But and the only reason I even know about her, she's been in quite a few things, which I'll tell you one in a second.
Okay.
But the only reason why I know about her is because when I was first starting a job, like a good 20 something years ago, somebody was like, oh, I've heard your name in the papers. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it was like this Jennifer Carpenter. And she was in the movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. And so...
It's a scary Halloween movie.
Yeah, and I did not want to be associated with her because I was like, oh, Exorcism of Emily Rose, that's terrifying. And she's playing Emily Rose. And it has nothing to do with me. And she and I are nothing alike.
Do you have demons?
I do not have demons.
Okay.
None?
I have demons.
You cracked so easy.
She does. Right away. Bam.
One of them is named Emily. The other one's named Rose.
Yeah.
So, no.
Carol, what's your demon today?
Jerome, calm down.
Carol, I will not calm down until you tell me your demon.
Can't do this with you, Jerome.
Carol, we're not going through this. Round and round we go.
Why does Jenna's character has the same voice as her?
I know.
Your character,
You know what? Last time it didn't. Jerome's not feeling. No, I'm Carol. Carol's not feeling the greatest today. Carol didn't know what to do.
she's got a cold.
Well, if you don't know who Carol and Jerome are, they were in season 1 with us. That's what it was. But anyways, we digress here. We are drawn to fictional villains who are like us. Because, yeah, you're going to say something.
I drew a breath.
What is it?
Okay, do you think you're drawn to villains that are like you, or are you drawn to villains that are not like you? Where you're like, if I were angry or if I were in that villainous type of mood, I would like to act like that, but I'm not like that.
So what they're saying is in your id deep down, you are drawn to these villains because you are like them in some way or another.
Oh, okay.
And you can be free to enjoy what you see from them because it's fiction and there is no self-threat.
Interesting. That's why people like horror movies, because the adrenaline that you get watching like people get scared and get murdered. Like,
do they?
I mean, because like it gives you a thrill that you're never going to experience safely, but you can from a distance on TV.
Dominic doesn't watch horror movies.
I don't watch horror
I don't
movies
either.
They're scary.
I really don't watch horror.
I know, we
movies.
talked about this.
So we are able to identify with those villainous characters without the threat of us thinking we're bad people. So we can keep that self-positivity bias up. And this can also happen in real life, like shows like Dateline or true crime podcasts or things like that, right?
You're watching things about like Jeffrey Dahmer or stuff like that.
You can storify real bad people so they aren't as real, and that allows you to empathize with them a little bit. Does that make sense? So if we are separating them and creating an element of non-reality to the villains, that seems to preserve within us our self-positivity bias, and it minimizes the threat.
Okay.
That's really interesting. Clara and we read Truman Capote's In Cold Blood, which is like the very beginning of the true crime genre. And we spent a lot of time talking about like the ethics of true crime and how people start to build it up as these fairy tale characters, because they forget that when you're like listening to a podcast or watching a movie or whatever about something that's real, the chase and the thrill is so exciting that it doesn't seem real, and people just like make these people so one-sided.
Yes. Yeah, there is that element of one-sidedness. And they say that, so there's a guy, his name is Brooks Ingleston. He says that there are basically two different types of villains. There are the villains who are just kind of flat, and they're just like, I'm a villain, and I just want to be evil for evil. And people don't really identify with those structures of villains very much because they're so one-sided, like you said. He says that the reason we like villains sometimes more than heroes is because the villain is the proactive one and the hero is the reactive one. That a villain is the one who comes out and creates the havoc and destroys things, and the hero is reacting to that. So it is the villain who has the initiative, basically, for it.
Yeah.
But there's a scale. And the scale is selfish to selfless. And you can't be 100% because that is not interesting. 100% selfless is boring, and 100% selfless. Which one did I say first?
I don't know.
I don't know. But you get what I'm saying.
You can't be either.
But 100% of anything is boring. It's much more interesting to watch a character who is selfish but has selfless tendencies for some reason. And it's much more interesting to watch a selfless hero who is struggling with trying to not be selfish. That dimension is much more interesting. So if you have 100% selfish, not going to work. That villain is not going to draw us to.
Yeah, and it's like, well, why? Like, what really is your motivation? You
Right.
know, like what's
Right.
happening here?
Well, and what they say is it's too perfect. Yeah. That's a perfect villain. If you're 100% selfish, you're a perfect villain, and
There's no humanity.
We
in
don't.
you.
Yes, because the humanity is in the flaws, and as humans, we like to observe other people's flaws. So we like to see that struggle. That humanity is what drives us to them.
It's interesting because when you think about like the classic Disney villains, they're very one-sided. They don't have any like redeeming qualities. But I was also like thinking in my head about how the heroes also didn't really have very many negative qualities. Like they were also very one-sided and they were just like completely selfless or completely innocent. And it doesn't seem like it'd be that interesting to watch.
Right.
And obviously media has evolved since then, and those characters who used to be very one-sided aren't anymore in their adaptations and whatnot.
Yes. Absolutely.
I know. I love the stories that they've given them. Like Cruella. Oh my goodness.
They have given
love
so
her
much
story.
depth to some of those villains through these creations. Ivan Pavlov says, we associate villains to other things we value, like freedom, independence, and authenticity. Freedom, because the villain is not bound by laws, right? Authenticity, because they can continually be themselves and do what they feel is them on the inside without any bars containing them. So that's another
Unless they get arrested.
Unless they get arrested, but then they
Then bars are containing them.
But then they use their secret thing that's like this stuff, and it cuts right through.
Yeah, or Minion from Megamind comes and rescues them.
There we go. That's right. Yeah. So those are some reasons why we tend to like villains.
I think specifically for like Disney movies, I think the villains, even in like earlier ones, are compelling because their songs are more fun.
That's
like
true.
Like all the fun like songs, and like Disney villains were like a little flamboyant. They got like the crazy like makeup and outfits, so they're like more fun to look at than just like the princess who's just like looks nice in a dress, versus like Maleficent who has like a huge crown and a crow, or like Scar who has a scar.
Scar did have a scar. It's true. Yeah. So there are villain archetypes: the false donor, the beast, the authority figure, and the traitor. Those are the 4 villain archetypes.
Interesting.
Which is your favorite?
Can you tell us what they mean?
Yeah, what is
you gotta guess that.
What is the false
what
donor?
Does that mean?
They lied about giving blood.
Give you some blood, and right, and they're like, haha.
No, the false donor
your
is
right blood type. You're
like
dead.
so.
It's Dracula, and he said he was a donor, but it was really just so that he could drink the blood.
Yeah,
Think of Frozen.
that's what it is.
Okay,
It's too
Frozen.
late. Your story doesn't matter.
Guy comes on a boat.
Are we talking
woos
about
a princess.
Hans?
Aha. Great guy, good smile. They sing a song about eating each other's hamburgers or something like that.
Sandwiches.
Yeah,
Claire and I
that's
grew
it.
up on these movies.
That's right.
Yeah.
Fake fan.
But he is not as such.
So it's like a Scooby-Doo villain, like you unmask.
There you go. Let's call it a Scooby-Doo
Scooby-Doo.
villain.
Way better than false donor.
Oh, way
Here's
better.
the thing.
Yes.
I wrote a letter to Hans. No lie.
Okay.
I wrote a letter to Hans.
To the actor? Or
No, to the cartoon
To Hans.
character.
Okay.
All right.
Because you can write letters to Disney characters, and there's this thing that says if you write a letter to a Disney character will write you back. And I thought, great, I got things
So
to
you
say.
chose Hans.
I chose Hans. Mind you, okay, story, like I wrote with children, but I made them do it because I wanted to write to Hans. So I wrote to Hans, and I told him that I thought he was misunderstood, and that even though he committed some crimes and did some bad things, I really feel like he did have some feelings for Anna. Listen, don't look at me like that. Okay?
I'm looking at you like this. I disagree.
I think that I think that there really was some kind of feelings there, but the evilness, like the ambition to do better than his brothers and to take over, took over him. And I think that they're still good in him. And I told him that he was going to be okay.
I think you're just being manipulated.
You think you can fix him and you can't.
Yeah.
Oh.
I believe in him. I believe in Hans.
No.
There's good in him.
There's not.
So
Evil
is
only.
false donor your favorite then?
Well, I really like the word beast.
As in Beauty and the?
Yeah.
Well, that's actually very interesting, right? Beauty and the Beast. You've got what is typically considered the handsome person being the villain, and the beastly looking thing being the hero.
I always stop the movie before the Beast turns into human because he's better as the Beast.
I like his
Oh, yeah?
long red hair. I think he's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Claire,
Well,
you like redheads? You like gingers?
Gingers are. We're gonna stop.
we're gonna stop right here.
We're gonna stop.
We're
It's a
gonna
different
stop right here.
podcast.
Sorry.
This podcast is not about Claire's love life.
All right. So
Hey.
so your favorite hero is the Beast.
Yeah, I do love me some Beast.
Great.
What are the other villain archetypes? What are the other
Scooby
ones?
Doo villain,
Authority.
Beast.
I don't like the Scooby Doo villain because I
Authority
feel
figure.
betrayed.
Authority figure and traitor.
Traitor.
I like Traitor. That's got some juice to it.
I don't know if I have a it's hard for me to determine a favorite archetype.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
then your favorite villain.
Oh, favorite villains. Wow.
She got answers there.
I got answers, baby. So there's I feel like they're in two different categories. There's
Yes.
villains that like I love, like
Mhm.
I love them, like Hans,
Okay.
right? Clara just rolled her eyes at me. And then villains that I love to hate, like Dolores Umbridge.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So my favorite, Dolores Umbridge, is such a good villain.
Yeah.
I think the fact that she is so stinking evil, like there's that side of her that is just truly like, it seems like you're just being mean for the sake of being mean.
Yeah.
But then I do think that part of her sincerely believes she's doing a good thing.
I think the villains have to believe that they're sincerely doing the right thing. Otherwise, why would they do it and commit to it like
Yeah.
they do?
Also, she wears pink, so there's this there there's this part of where it's like, okay, she's evil, and you kind of always think villains are just gonna wear black all the time, but she's just wearing pink.
Just pink.
Yeah.
That's it. Just
She's wearing
pink.
pink, and pink is such a like, I don't know, like a pink.
Like Regina from Mean Girls. She wears
Like
pink.
Regina. I don't know. There's just something about her, and she loves cats.
Do you mean Clara?
I love cats.
I did
I love
actually.
cats,
Just correct
too.
myself.
I have 2 cats.
Clara and I just made up because we both like cats.
Yeah.
Should we tell the podcast listeners about Claire's cats?
Can we take it?
Just like
Yeah.
a 2-second break.
Are they villainous?
Sometimes.
Sometimes they're evil.
Fightful.
They're fightful. I have 2 cats, Lupe, Roberto Guadalupe, and Nina, aka Needle.
Yeah.
And Nina is brown and clumsy, and she has short little legs and a football body.
Football body.
And Lupe is orange, and he has orange eyes to match.
Aw.
Oh, orange, just like the month of October. I had a cat. My cat's name was Pumpkin. This is where it came. My cat.
What was that segue?
My cat was orange, named Pumpkin. Yours was orange.
Yes.
Is.
Is.
He's
Yeah.
alive.
I had an orange cat.
Did you see?
Yeah.
This is all. It's all connected.
It is.
Cats are Halloweeny too.
Yes, they are.
Do you have a favorite villain archetype? Do you, Dominic?
I like the authority figure archetype because I like to see that kind of villain taken down.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's why I would engage with that one the
Okay.
most. I
That
like to
makes
see
sense.
that type of injustice righted.
Clara?
I don't know. I really don't like the false donor because I feel like I'm being tricked, which I don't like. And I feel like I also kind of prefer the authority because I feel like they do feel kind of separate from the rest of like the cast because they're in like a place of power, and I like that they're over there.
Put them in their own
Like
box.
that they're over there.
So we talk about villain in terms of the fictitious way. There's another way to have a fictitious villain, I think.
Okay.
So very often we as human beings can vilify people. We make villains of others. Why do we vilify people?
I think it's easier to accept what they're doing if we make them into a villain. Like if we are saying, well, this person is a bad person, it makes sense that they're doing it.
Because you don't want to say that a good person hurt you because it just is harder because if you're like, oh, well, they're still a good person, it's just harder to like come to terms with. And it's much easier to just be like, oh, well, they're evil. They're terrible. They always do this to everybody. That's just who they are.
Yeah.
I think it's way easier to hate someone when you don't when you don't acknowledge their good qualities, because then you don't have to see them for all that they are. You can just make them one-sided and you can make them a villain and then hate them.
Yeah. There are some people that thrive by making other people villains.
Yeah, those are called trolls.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And not the kind with the
Under the bridge.
bright hair.
Oh, right.
Who sing with Anna Kendrick.
That's right. Yeah.
She is a troll, Anna Kendrick. And Justin Timberlake.
That's right. So if there isn't one, some people will create a villain. Their day isn't complete unless there's a fight and a struggle.
That's a hard life.
That is. So there's a guy, Paul Joyner is his name. Okay.
Paul.
And these villains, he says, provide energy to the person who thrives off of that. And they create a villain for multiple reasons. And here are the reasons. First of all, they're addicted to the rush, and it's an actual addiction. That you're addicted to this rush, and it's called the victim, martyr, hero cycle. And in this cycle, as they live it out each day, the victim, gets sympathy, the martyr gets praise, the hero gets respect. So that is the cycle. And who do they choose to vilify? They choose to vilify those who compete against them, people that they can't impress, people who voice a different opinion, people they can't control, and people who speak truth when we don't want to hear it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So those are the people they choose to vilify, and they thrive off of that addiction.
Okay.
That is frightening almost to think of having to go through that cycle on a daily. It's exhausting. Is that like
Sounds exhausting.
just to have to do that every day in order to feel you've conquered something? And Paul uses that term, that they have to feel like they've conquered something.
It's also like when you're like a really angry person and you don't like have anywhere to put that anger, you don't know where it comes from, you have to find a reason to be angry. And your reason to be angry is, this person did something to me. I've just decided they have harmed me. Something they said is the reason why I'm feeling like this. Because when you don't know like where your feelings are coming from, you just have to deflect it onto other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That deflecting. Sometimes it doesn't look inward enough, and we are focused too much on that self-preservation that we talked about earlier.
I dressed up once as the Wicked Witch of the East.
Yes.
And I think she definitely vilified Dorothy because she didn't understand that, like, Dorothy didn't mean to kill her sister. She just landed a house on her, and shoes happened to go on her feet. She can't help it.
And really, when you go to do that, Dorothy was almost vilifying herself.
Oh, yeah.
Because, sorry if you haven't seen Wizard of Oz yet. If I
don't think we
spoiled
need to
it.
Spoiler warning, a movie
Clara,
from,
have
like,
you seen Wizard
so
of
many
Oz?
years ago.
That one I have seen.
Oh, thank you, Clara.
It's Clara.
So
verified.
you dressed up as a villainous character.
I
once.
did. I've dressed up as a few. I dressed up as the Wicked Witch of the East. I dressed up as, I'm forgetting his name now, but from Despicable Me, the one in the orange.
Vector.
Vector. Yeah, I dressed up as Vector once.
Okay, great. You ladies?
I usually was like the girl who dressed up as Taylor Swift or a bumblebee. So
Yeah.
not really.
So if you can't see
A
us,
bumblebee
if you're
could be a villain
Yeah.
in somebody's eyes.
if you are watching this
Hey.
and
How you doing?
not
Great to
listening
see
to this,
Stop.
we are dressed up today.
We are.
Yes, we're all dressed up as villains in
Do you
some
know
way or
what
the
I
other.
am?
But
What are you, Jenna?
what are you?
I have no idea.
Okay, say something like to make me angry. Say something about Marvel movies.
Marvel movies are nerdy.
They're dumb.
Okay, so
I'm holding these under the table the entire time.
that is why we haven't seen Jenna's hands.
I was just realizing that I hadn't seen your hands the whole time.
So she just pulled out from under the table
Hulk fists.
massive Hulk green fists.
That's really impressive.
That made me so happy.
That is fantastic.
Oh, this is upside down. Hold on. My
So I dressed up in my youth as a waiter. Once.
Oh,
You
that's
were a
a
waiter?
Was a waiter. Are you making fun
You
of
go
my
around saying,
trick?
trick or treat, super salad?
Good one.
That's hilarious. That's good.
And a clown.
Oh, a clown is a villain.
That could be a villain for sure.
Okay, so it's an interesting tie-in here. So we're going backwards. The meaning of villain, as we know it today, anti-hero. Go back in time, crook. Go back, miser. Go back one more, clown.
What?
Really?
I
Yeah.
do not
So I was right.
joke you.
Clown.
So that,
clowns.
so we always see
good one.
these villains who are clowns, like, oh, I don't know, Clara.
Joker. You want to know how I got these scars?
Oh my gosh.
She's girl Joker.
So we see all these clowns, and perhaps they're rooted in the history of the meaning of villain. So this is kind of a 2-for-1, but we're not going to go deep into clown.
Okay.
Clown meant countryman, rustic, or peasant, ignorant, rude, uncouth, ill-bred man.
Goodness.
Men.
Yes. So words can, in their evolution,
Hurt.
well, yes, they totally
You clown.
can hurt.
It's really funny.
I am a peasant and a man, so yes, I am a clown. I'm sorry.
That is it. Yep. Words can deteriorate or they can appreciate. And that depends on their different circumstances and the worlds that they become part of. So clown eventually parted ways with villain because villains, they needed words to describe certain things that were deteriorating. And the clown became the word where it kind of sort of appreciated because they needed words for clown that just meant low status, lack of gentle. Whereas for villain, they needed something that was more ethically bad. And that's where villain started to go to as we go backwards in time. And then clown really became popularized because it was a theatrical performance and a very popular theatrical type of performance. So it appreciated even more as actors started to change what it meant even more. That's a whole nother word for another day.
It really is. That's
Yeah.
There's a lot into that. That's
There
cool.
is. There is. But let's now go back to villain as we might more originally know what villain is. When is the beginning of it and what does it mean at its beginning?
There was a very, very early use of the word villain
Yep.
in this book, kind of from 1303, written by Robert of Rouen, and it was called The Handling Sign, and it was a collection of verse and poem about what men shouldn't do. It was all about morality and the follies of man, and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. And the first use of the word was, also it is villainy for laymen to plead at law in church, or for assailers to inquire into felony and theft. So its first usage as the word villainy or villain was it is bad, don't do this.
Interesting. Interesting. So let's take it back then, even before that. So villain is a derivative of villa. So the home, the estate. And the villain is the person there that tended to. If you can see my costume, the farmhand, that is what the villain was. So there were these estates or villas held by nobility or upper class people, and the people who tended to them were the villains. Now, in those times, those upper class people tended to think of the people who were serving them as lower than them, and therefore they were almost that debased as criminals. That is where that villain starts to come. The upper class associated them with poverty and crime, and the villain slowly over time evolved from a farmer to a peasant to a clown to a miser to a crook to our anti-hero that we know today. Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Isn't that? The word has deteriorated from something in such a way, and I would say through the process of vilifying. These nobility...
Jenna brought her whole can back home.
To say hello.
These nobility would vilify the very people who served them. Really? They're the ones who probably did not need to vilify. Villain. Farmhand. I think it's a surprising one.
It is.
It really is.
I think less of farmers now that you've told me about that.
Yeah.
I think
Sorry.
I like
That's
Farmers are bad
I think
guys.
I'm children of the corn.
That is the opposite of what we should have made you feel.
You know what? My media literacy skills aren't the best. I haven't watched enough Marvel. So sorry about that.
Yeah. Well, let's rectify that, Clara.
So I would gather to say that as we are going through our day, we need to think a little bit less about that self-preservation of who we are and stop to think if while we're self-preserving, if along the way we are making a villain of someone else unjustly. I think the evolution of the word is an unjust evolution.
It's like we vilified the word villain.
Yeah, because if we talk about selfless to selfish, the people who were considered lower and therefore crooks and doing these evil, terrible things were actually the ones serving these other people. And yet they became known for that. Today we love villains, but almost for the very reason that the word started to evolve into the anti-hero. Because, and perhaps nobility saw this in their villains of their time. They saw a part of themselves in their servants. But in order to self-preserve their nobility, they had to push them away. They had to distance themselves so they could remain superior. How many times do we not knowingly distance ourselves from other people for no good reason, without truly understanding? I challenge that we all go forward and spend a day doing the opposite of vilifying and find ways to understand other people and bring us closer to humanity and even a little closer to the things that might scare us about our potential. See what happens. Well, my friends, we have reached the end of our episode. We hope you'll join us next month in the month of November when our word is nice.
Nice.
Oh,
nice.
That's right. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dominic.
I'm the mummy. I mean, Chloe.
I'm the Joker, baby.
That's Clara, and you've been listening to One Word.
One word.
One word. Yeah.
We'll see you next month.
One Word is a production of BFAC On Air.